evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting episode of In the Crease. I'm Fiore, and the seat next to me is empty. My cohort and colleague and true hockey wizard, Bob Nelson, unable to be in the studio today, and we miss him sorely. However, the show must go on, as they say, so I'm going to be flying solo tonight, and I'll apologize up front for not offering all of you fans and viewers the generally insightful musings of Bob Nelson. Bob hopefully will be back with us on the next show. This is In the Crease. It is the only talk show in the tri-state area where you can get true hockey reports that haven't been filtered through Tom McMillan and the Pens PR office, nor have we been told what to say. Are you listening, Liam McCune? By Gary Bettman. Unabashed, unadulterated hockey news. Let's talk about the Stanley Cup. You know, great minds, they do think alike, and I've got to say that regardless of what happens in the Stanley Cup Finals, which are underway as we're taping, Bob and I have evened out on our predictions for this year. We both have picked the LA Kings to take the finals, and if they win, we both win, and if they lose, we still have tied for the season, simply because all of our matches went on. So great minds think alike, and at least one of our teams that we picked are in there. Bob's Flyers certainly didn't make it, and so just had to rub that little salt into the wound there. As we're taping this show, the Kings are up 1-0. They had a pretty amazing overtime win. Kopitar's breakaway goal, in which he kind of schooled Marty Brodeur. I don't think Marty's going to take kindly to that, and we'll see what happens as the games go on. But it should be an interesting Cup series. Very low scoring, and I would imagine very tight. Just what Bettman doesn't want, so for that I'm laughing up my sleeve too. The big question is, what happens next year? There have been a lot of problems with this year's playoff system. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. In the East, you have the New Jersey Devils, who were the 6th seed in the Cup Finals. And in the West, you have the LA Kings, who were the 8th seed in the Cup Finals. This shows me there's something askew going on here. Let's look at it just a little bit closer to the New York Rangers, who were number 1 in the East, had to fight through, and I mean this literally, the 6th, 7th, and 8th seed. They never played a team that was higher than the Jersey Devils, which was the 6th seed. And they struggled throughout the entire playoffs with all of their opponents. Yikes. How come the 8th seed can give the 1st seed so much? Now let's jump over to the West, where we have the LA Kings, who were the 8th seed, the bottom of the barrel, if you will, into the playoff system. And they knocked off the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place teams, and they did it handily. I don't think any series went over 5 games. That's pretty impressive, okay? So you see the disparity going on there, and I know Bob will disagree with me if you had been here, but that's why I think the Western Conference is so much stronger than the Eastern Conference, because their weakest teams are just as good as their strongest teams. Whereas here, our strongest team had to struggle desperately against the 3 lowest teams seeded going into the playoffs. There's a disparity here. I've been saying all along that you take the top teams, regardless of conference, you take the top point getters, you match them up, and you fly with it. That was the system that was going to come under consideration with the new arbitration contract that was first laid on the table, and Don Fiore just kind of said no and blew that out of the water, and I'm not sure where he's going with that. At first, even the players, if you'll recall, very upset with that decision, and later they backed off because of negotiations that were going on behind the league with Bettman and his cronies, and of course the players' union. So does something need to be done for next year? Yeah, I think this year showed the disparity within the playoff system, but we'll wait and see as the summer goes, and of course we'll keep you abreast on things up here as we go about it. I'm sure Bob will have a comment or two on this when he returns on the next show. And while we're talking about cups, why not bring in the World Cup? You know, This thing made me laugh. It really did. Evgeny Malkin from the Pens comes over as soon as the Pens are out of the playoff, joins up with Team Russia, and just totally dominates. I think he ended up with 100 million, thousand gazillion points, became the MVP of the series, and helps lead Russia to the World Championships. If you remember a little while ago when we had Theo Fleury on the show, he said, a lot of times the World Cups are considered more important than the Stanley Cup. Okay, fine. With that mentioned and with that vein in mind, let's go back to what has happened to Canada this year. Canada, who, hey, it's our sport. Nobody can play hockey like the Canadians can. They not only lost to Finland, they lost to America, the United States, and they got their tails kicked by Russia. Wow. I mean, something is askew in the Great White North. What's going on? Is it the open door policy? I don't know, but something went wrong there. The pictures that have been floating around for the last couple of days have been Vladimir Putin being presented the World Championship jersey from Evgeny Malkin. And gee, isn't that just nice? Doesn't that just make your heart kind of sing and jump out for joy? Yeah, this is Russia, who's siding, of course, with all of our enemies in the Middle East, and Putin has done everything but bang the shoe on the table saying, we'll bury you. But that's okay, because Malkin's over there as an ambassador and giving him a jersey. Speaking of people and Russians, have you heard about Dominik Hasek? He's ticked. He says he's had enough playing in Russia. He wants to come back and play for the NHL. The man's 47 years old. Know what he did last year? Nothing. Took a whole year off. Before that, he had played 2-3 years in Russia. And he said, you know what? I've been over here 3 years now, and guess what? I know why I left. I need to get out of this place again. So he's looking to come back over into the NHL. Rumors are that one of the Florida teams, I believe it's the Tampa Bay Lightning, are interested, and he is interested in rejoining his old team that he won a couple of Stanley Cups with, the Detroit Red Wings. His agent has met with both of those teams already. So who knows? I mean, everyone's bragging about Marty Brodeur being 40 years old and in the Stanley Cup, and now at 47, Dominik Hasek wants his way back to the NHL.
Hi, I'm John Bauer, and I'm here to talk about sudden cardiac arrest. Heart disease, including sudden cardiac arrest, is the nation's #1 killer. Sudden cardiac arrest happens when the heart suddenly stops beating. This may be from a heart attack or a number of other causes. Whatever the cause, without immediate action, the sufferer will die. You can take action against sudden cardiac arrest. If you see someone suddenly collapse and it looks like they aren't breathing normally, you need to act immediately. First, call 911 or your local emergency number. Then start immediate chest compressions. Place your hands in the middle of the chest and begin to push forcefully and rapidly, at least 100 times a minute. If anyone else is nearby, have them relieve you after 2 minutes. Keep taking turns. If you're in a public place, ask someone to get an AED. When it arrives, open it up and follow the voice instructions. Don't stop chest compressions until the AED tells you to. Keep going until rescuers arrive. Sudden cardiac arrest is survivable if immediate action is taken. You can make a difference. To learn more or to learn CPR, contact Tri-Community South EMS at 412-831-3710. Be a lifesaver. Learn CPR.
Even more cups in hockey. Cup runneth over here. Let's talk a little bit about the Memorial Cup. The Memorial Cup, not to be confused with the Memorial Day Cup, which I played in, I believe, 4 times and won 2 of the 4. But this is the Memorial Cup, actually, and it is the Junior Championships. And let me put a break on people right now. This is not the Junior Championships like junior hockey around here. where they have the World Junior Championships and they're just a bunch of kids that are playing 18, 19. This is the Junior Championships. These guys are pros. They actually are paid to play, and it's the Canadian Junior Hockey League. You actually get a stipend for playing on that, and if you go play in the Canadian Juniors, you lose your eligibility for NCAA. So it's a little bit different league. It's a little bit faster paced, obviously, and it's the Memorial Cup has been played for I believe 94, possibly 97 years. It's been around for a while. So, but it is an interesting little matchup. The London Knights, and boy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe our previous guest, Pete Aubrey, spent a couple of seasons with the London Knights at one time. The London Knights were the heavy favorites, and they went up against Shawinigan, and the Cataracts won. They took it all. It was pretty amazing. It's the first time in the club's history, and I think they've been around for almost a half a century, that they've managed to win the big prize. So kudos to all of them. And of course, everyone reporting on they won in overtime. So that was exciting enough. And there was only about less than 3 minutes left in overtime when they were able to pull it out. But everybody who was talking about the game was talking about the rather heroic efforts of their goaltender, Gabe Girard, in that final game, the winning game that they won 2-1. He made, I believe, 35 shots, made 34 saves, which is mighty, mighty impressive. And if my cohort, Bob Nelson, were here, he would tell you about all of the many times that he did similar feats. But, of course, we all know that it would be BS. So the bottom line is congratulations to Shawinigan Cataracts, who defeated the London Knights for the Memorial Cup. And still, our cup runneth over. One more to go. This is the Calder Cup. This is I like this one. This is probably the nicest, the fastest, the best one to watch, if you will, outside of the Stanley Cup. The Calder Cup, of course, is the championship from the AHL, the American Hockey League, which is the farm team for the NHL. And going in there this year are the Toronto Marlies and the Norfolk Admirals. They haven't even played a game yet. As we are taping this, I believe their series starts tomorrow and goes best of 7. So we'll have results for you on that on the next show. But all of the hype, all of the if you will, pundits are pulling for a Toronto in this series, and just because I see things down in Norfolk that are kind of impressing me, here's a surprise. I'm going to buck the trend and say that the Norfolk Admirals, I think, should take that series from Toronto. We'll wait and see. I turn to Bob and say, who do you like? But, we can't even break a tie on this because he's not here. The Stanley Cup isn't even over yet, and already we're going to start reporting to you on some of the trades and rumors and team shifts going along that you're not going to be reading about in the papers until at least August, September from the other hockey freighlocks in town. So here are some of the big ones now. Normally I don't bother with wingers and defensemen, but of course Nash out of Columbus has been, they tried to shop him around at the conclusion of last year's regular season, and now there's rumors going around again. One of the teams he is interested in going into, guys behind me here, Boston. But my sources are telling me what Columbus wants in return is too high. I did hear rather that they offered Timmy Thomas. They wanted to give him Timmy Thomas and another winger, but Columbus countered with they want Milan Lucic and Tyler Seguin, and Boston said, you guys must be smoking something over there because that's not going to happen. So Nash is probably one of the biggest wingers who will be floating around out there. Don't be too surprised. I think he's got a contract that's worth $7.8 million a year, and with the salary cap the way it is, don't be too surprised if good old Richard Nash finds himself back in Columbus again. I don't know. Bob would have given you a complete rundown on wingers and defensemen. I have always said and will always say, if you're going to build a team or change the complexion of a team, you do that from the net out. And that's why I'm paying attention to the goalies who are free agents. And believe me, this year there is a very limited amount of free agents. Last year, There were some heavy hitters floating around out there, but this year, no. And in the net-minding category, Tommy Vokoun from the Washington Capitals, Johan Hedberg, Josh Harding, Scott Clemmensen, Chris Mason are all free agents coming up this summer. Let's talk about a couple of them. First, Tommy Vokoun in Washington. You know, when the Caps traded for Vokoun, I said on this show that was going to change their entire complexion and that they were going to be a team to contend with. In fact, I had picked them to be in the Eastern Finals. So, I had a lot of strength going for them, if you will. And I don't think anybody expected Tommy Vokoun to be as injury-prone as he was this year. He missed a big chunk of time. He was not even eligible to play for the playoffs because of injuries. And I think everyone was caught off guard by the rather stellar play of Scott Holtby. Or Braden Holtby, sorry. And, Bob was making fun of him because he used to play for the Hershey Bears. But the kid stepped up to the plate, and he did a great job for the Caps. And I got to tell you, I think that makes Vokoun very expendable. And he could probably get a nice dollar and go to a team and really change them around, provided he can stay healthy. So Tommy Vokoun, I think there will be a lot of interest in him. He still has a good number of years behind him. The other guy that kind of sort of needs to break out of his shell is Josh Harding with the Minnesota Wild. When Harding first came on the scene, and I found this picture of him here where he's wearing his old school brown goalie pads, gloves, and blocker. And Bob and I both liked him. We liked the way he played. We thought he was pretty good. As he's been with Minnesota and stayed with them, he has started to shift his style and lean a little bit more toward the butterfly system, which, we'll both tell you is probably a bad thing. You probably need to be a little more eclectic in today's NHL. Nonetheless, Josh Harding is in the same category that Tuukka Rask is in Boston. These guys have played second string long enough. Their learning curve should, if it's not over by now, it should be real close to being over. And they need to spread their wings and show their teams what they can do. I don't think Josh Harding's going to get that opportunity with Nicholas Backstrom in front of him in Minnesota. You got Nick Backstrom in nets, you're going to ride him to the ends of the earth. So as a result, you need something else going on there, and I think Harding needs a change of scene, as traffic would say, so that he can start feeling all right. And he needs to get out of there and show some teams what he can do, and I believe he'll be a pleasant surprise. The same thing happens with Tuukka Rask in Boston. I think Boston is very high on Tuukka. I don't think they're going to trade him at all. So he needs to step up and take a few more starts and show what he can do with that team. And that's why I think Timmy Thomas might be a little bit more expendable than some people are thinking, especially if they keep Marty Turco in the system as well. So the other people available, Chris Mason might be the toughest sell. He had a really rough year this year. Scott Clemmensen, when he came in, looked good. And there may be some value to him. And as far as Johan Hedberg, he's 36, maybe 37. So he's getting up there in age too, and possibly as a utility role, he might not be bad. And that, from the net out, are the big prospects coming up this summer. say I would be remiss if I didn't tell you about who is causing all this, and it's Play It Again Sports. They are the only Play It Again Sports. Originally, when Play It Again Sports came into town, I think there were seven or eight locations in and around the Pittsburgh area. And now we're down to one. And this is the one that found roots for itself, grew, and became successful. They are on Route 30 out in Greensburg. And as you probably know from watching the show, Bob works out there and pretty much runs the place if I know Bob. You can give him a call at 724-834-1121. That number again is 724-834-1121. Call up there, ask for Bob, talk to him, tell him about what you need as far as hockey is concerned. The stuff is really great out there. You can do it one of two ways, too. If you have hockey gear that you want to get rid of, you could either take it out there and they'll sell it for you and give you a commission, or they'll do it on consignment as well. And, you know, don't think of Play It Again Sports as only your hockey stop. They cover the whole gamut. So no matter what your game is, lacrosse, baseball, football, whatever, you can go out there and get yourself some quality gear at discount rates, and a good place to dump your gear when you decide to hang up your skates as well. But a good store for some hockey stuff. And you know, if you're talking to Bob out there, he's good on hockey, he's good on baseball. Give the man that. He knows his stuff, he knows his gear. So give him a buzz. Again, 724-834-1121. Talk to him. They provide us with prizes to give out on the show as being the sponsor. And again, we want to thank them. That's why we plug them on the show. Last time on the show, Adam Sedini won, got himself a nice little prize package, and it was pretty good. Bob put together a nice little bag for him. I was looking inside there and said, "This is it's kind of good." Something a little bit different this time around. We have some photos to give away. This is John Zeiler, and you can see that if you look. Wait a minute, I'm doing this backwards here. If you can look right here, you can see that John has actually signed this. For those of you up in the New England area, you guys know John well. He played for the Monarchs for I don't know how many years, and now he's playing with the LA Kings. So there he goes right there. And the nice thing about these photos, they have this letter of authenticity attached to them. This states that, you know, John actually signed this in front of the guy, so it's not one of those rip-off things. You know, this is a legit how do you do. And the other fellow we have here is Nate Gui, and he's a local guy too. This is when his playing days were with the Philadelphia Phantoms, and there he is there. So we have both of these. They are signed and they are both authenticated. I guess I should do it. Oh, sorry. I should do it this way so you can see that they both have certificates of authenticity. Both autographed, certainly collector's items, two young stars in the NHL. And that's this week's prize. And our winner is Matt Quigley. So Matt Quigley, congratulations to you, sir. These are yours. They are sitting down here at the TV studio, and you may come down and pick them up at any time. Get to meet Dave, who is producing in the background, and he will be more than happy to talk to you and give you your prize. Now, you might be sitting there saying, you know, that's not bad. One guy wins a nice little package filled with all kind of another guy gets collectible, autographed, authentic autographed photos. How do I get onto this thing? How possibly could I win as well? Well, it's easy. Every time you interact with the show, your name is put into the goalie helmet that Bob has, and we pick a winner out before the show starts. And well, how do I interact with the show? Easy. It's our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/inthecrease. It's that simple. Get on there. Make sure you like us. That's always good. And then check out the postings. I'm telling you, folks, either Bob or I put something on there every day. It's always hockey related. So it's either something that's going to be humorous and maybe a little bit on the fluff side, or it's going to be some serious comments and news events happening in the world of hockey. Something new is posted on there every day, and it will keep you ahead of the curve much better than reading the daily local papers here who, you know, now that the Pens are out of the playoffs, have been treating hockey like the bastard child, if you will, and relegating them to a back page somewhere in little paragraphs this big. If you love hockey, you want to stay with it, it's facebook.com/inthecrease. in the crease, and every time you post something on there, like a picture, whatever, we jot that down, throw it into a goalie helmet, and before the show we pick it out. And Matt Quigley is our winner for today. He gets the autographed photos, and we'll have another prize for you next time, all courtesy of our sponsor, Play It Again Sports. And speaking of hockey, and I'm sure if he were here, my colleague Bob Nelson would agree, when it comes to the game of hockey, if you're in that game, you're in the crease. Good evening, everyone.
Hi, I'm John Bauer, and I'm here to talk about sudden cardiac arrest. Heart disease, including sudden cardiac arrest, is the nation's #1 killer. Sudden cardiac arrest happens when the heart suddenly stops beating. This may be from a heart attack or a number of other causes. Whatever the cause, without immediate action, the sufferer will die. You can take action against sudden cardiac arrest. If you see someone suddenly collapse and it looks like they aren't breathing normally, you need to act immediately. First call 911 or your local emergency number. Then start immediate chest compressions. Place your hands in the middle of the chest and begin to push forcefully and rapidly, at least 100 times a minute. If anyone else is nearby, have them relieve you after 2 minutes. Keep taking turns. If you're in a public place, ask someone to get an AED. When it arrives, open it up and follow the voice instructions. Don't stop chest compressions until the AED tells you to. Keep going until rescuers arrive. Sudden cardiac arrest is survivable if immediate action is taken. You can make a difference. To learn more or to learn CPR, contact Tri-Community South EMS at 412-831-3710. Be a lifesaver. Learn CPR.